I just wanted to get a feel of the audience. How many of you are already using Postgres on like Postgres RDS? 2, 3, 4, 5. So 20%. I'm bad at math. How many of you never use RDS, like even not MySQL RDS or any other RDS? Most of the people. So I think it's the talk will be mix of both, like things I might learn from you. You never know. That's why I'm here actually, to learn things. Okay, so I'll be talking about RDS today. That's why you are here. So if you are on wrong room, you might want to go upstairs. Who am I? I am a lead database architect at Omnitia. I've been working with Omnitia for I think about 8 years now. So it's been a long time. Originally, I was a Oracle DBA about 6 years ago. Then I migrated to Postgres. So I am a migrated DBA. You can contact me on my email address. I am on Twitter most of the time. I write some things, some critical stuff, like some controversial stuff on my blog. You might want to check out. And as Omnitia is a web development, product development company helping customers to build scalable solutions. And the good part is we are hiring. We are hiring a lot of position actually. If you are a good Linux kernel developer or Solaris developer or anything, we are hiring for DBAs, we are hiring for system admin, developers. Most like 6 position I know we are hiring for the design lead, I think. So a lot of hiring. So I have my cards here if you are looking for a job, and if your employer is here, you can just grab my card and email me in the secret. Agenda. Okay, so what is Amazon RDS? That's what I'm going to talk about. RDS highlights, like what are the Amazon is doing a marketing about what's its highlights about RDS. Like I will go through it's very easy to setting up the RDS instance, so I will go through that step. Some specific Postgres RDS features I will talk about. Those are really important. And some administration part of it, some limitations of it, some benchmarking, and at the last, like we will be going a Q and question and answers. Like you can ask question anytime, but if you can hold on, that's fine too. So what is Amazon RDS? It's a managed relational database management service. So managed in the cloud. So I think Amazon has done a very great job to make it simple for the developers to deploy the application with the database. So in the earlier, like if you have to set up a new product or website, you need to talk to the DBAs to first you need to go to your system guys to provision the hardware, install Postgres, set up a database, set up an application, set up a backup. Those kind of stuffs are now managed through Amazon. So once you set up Postgres on RDS, like those things are taken care by you, from them. So Amazon is providing RDS on MySQL, Oracle. I think they started with MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, and last September they introduced Postgres. So some of the service highlights. So it's managed, obviously. So all the hardware part and other management part has been taken care by Amazon. It's compatible. So if you are already using Amazon for other stuff, right, EC2 instance or anything, S3 bucket, or anything like that, it's compatible with that. It's scalable database in the cloud, so you can scale really with the click button. Like you want 1000 IOPS and you want to scale it to 3000 IOPS, you can do that by clicking the button. So that's awesome, right? That's the dream comes true. Designed for use with other Amazon web service, like other if you are using other services, and it's they call it inexpensive, but whenever you are working with cloud or Amazon, you should always keep eye on the bills, like you keep eye on the bills for your, for any other services like electricity or anything, water bill, whatever it is. But it's a similar similar concept. Whatever you are doing in your real life, you should keep track of bills you are getting from Amazon every month. I think you should spend at least 15 minutes every month to review your bills. You might be saving a lot of money. We have seen those bills every month, and we save a lot of money by just giving 15 minutes every month to review the bills, where those usage are coming from. Okay, so earlier, like when they started RDS in September, it wasn't production ready. It means it wasn't GA. But since July 2014, very recently, 3-4 months ago, it's production ready now. So there was some issues like if it is not ready, then why should I go to the Amazon like for critical services? So now I think from the support perspective, it's a production ready. So as you can see, you have options to select a lot of things like MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres. Okay, so let's start setting up the instance. It will be 4-5 steps process. The screen I showed first, that was the first step. Like you need to go to Amazon RDS, you need to set up your account and then click on the RDS, Amazon RDS, and then this screen will show up. Then you click on Postgres, obviously. Then it will ask for it is production ready or is it for just for a testing purpose. Like there is a free usage tier for RDS that you can use for I think a year or so for free. But let's assume that we want to use for production ready. So yes, use multi-AZ deployment, provision IOPS. I think I'll be talking about that more, but let's assume we know everything about that for now. So once that's done, now you are selecting the DB engine. It's a Postgres. So license model, it's not for us because it's for Oracle. So you don't have to worry about that. DB engine version, it's 9.3.3. So far, I think it's supporting 9.3.1, 2, and 3. That's another problem that I'll be talking about in the future, but keep eye on that. DB instance class is like if you aren't familiar with the Amazon, like it might need like 15 minutes to explain those DB, the engine class. Like you can select size of the instance for this purpose. I just selected M1 large. I think it comes with the 15 gig of RAM or similar to that. Multi-AG development, yes, it's availability zone deployment. So your instance will be replicated. Auto minor version upgrade. So you can say yes as a developer. It's really great. Like who wants to upgrade the database? Like no developers would like to upgrade the database. So it will be upgraded for you. Allocated storage, it's let's say we started with 100 gig. Use provision IOPS, yes. Provision IOPS is 1000. There is a criteria you can't set like 10,000 IOPS for 100 gig. I will be talking about that in the future, but let's assume you know that. DB instance identifier, OmniTI, master username. So instance is the database name is OmniTI. Username is OmniTI, password is OmniTI, of course. Next step, database name is OmniTI, database port is 543. You can choose any port, but I just, for the simplicity purpose, I just use the default one. Choose a VPC. That's another concept, virtual, the private network that I don't want to go dive into that, but if you are already using Amazon, you can choose the instance, the same VPC in same network. Availability zone, no preference, like you can select the zone as well, like in East Coast, there are a couple of availability zone, 1A, 1B, 1C, so you can select that. And options group, that's the thing I think we need to talk about in the later on. It's if you want to configure some HBA-conf and any other Postgres.conf file, there is another parameter group, so you can select which kind of parameter you want to select for that instance, and security group is default. Okay, so the next, so this is 6 steps, right? No, 5 steps. So this is the 5th step. Now, do you want to enable automatic backups? Yes, of course, I want to take a backup. Just take a backup for me. Backup retention period, you can choose 35 days, up to 35 days. So, backup window that will select the, it will be online backup. So, but still it makes sense to select a window outside of the business hours. And the maintenance window is for upgrade. So, you can select a maintenance window when they can auto upgrade our database. So, they will send out a notification that next Friday or next Sunday morning we will be doing maintenance and we will be upgrading your database. And okay, that's it. And then you can review those stuff like it's, and then hit instance created. Okay, so once it's created, it might take a couple of minutes to create the instance depending on the resources you selected. So if you have selected very large disk and very high IOPS, it might take a while, but then once it's created, you can connect through your pSQL prompt. So in the previous slide, I had a instance name, the endpoint name. So you can use that endpoint name to connect your instance. So it's a server name and the port name. So H Omniti RDS -D is the database name, -P port, and -E Omniti. And then you can see it's created and you have database ready with replication setup, backups is ready. Now you can use as a production. So like in 5 steps, you can create a database with the backups and failover capability. That's pretty cool.
By default, it's open to the world. If anyone gets to that address, 5432 in particular?
No, by default it's not. Like it will be for your VPC or, so you need to enable that. So you need to add your IP address. So that's a good feature, like it's not open for the world. So it's UTF-8, so encoding is right too, so that's good. Most of the problems I have seen is encoding problems. Oh, it's tough to work around. And time zones. Okay, so we have Omniti database. RDS admin is their own database, so you don't have to worry about template 0, template 0, 1, Postgres, you don't worry about that. Okay, so let's talk about, like, we have instance ready, but we haven't gone through the parameters. What are the parameters are set up in that instance? So it's a pre-configured parameter. So we selected that parameter group. So you can create that parameter group by your own by logging into that. By default, I selected the default one. So by default, it comes with like maximum connections, size, DB instance class memory. I told you, right? Like there's instance type m1.large, extra large. So depending on that size, it will select the maximum connection. So you don't have to worry about that. So it does like that. The math, I'm wrong, like I'm not good at math, but it turns out to 604 maximum connection for m1.large instance. So that's, I think that should be good enough. You can change it too, but that's the default it comes with. Effective cache size, it calculates like this. So it's 3.6 KB, 3.6 gig for I think 15 gig of instance. I think so. So not bad. Shared buffer is 1.8 gig. You can change it, but by default it's come with like, so your developer doesn't have to worry about. The other good part about it is you can, like as a DBA, you can create that configured parameters, name it as a Denish pgconf, and then anybody would like to use Denish pgconf, they can just select from that drop down list and that will be used. So that is pretty cool. Maintenance work memory is default is 16 MB. I think that's good enough and can be changed if you would like to, if you want to tweak something. Work mem is 1 MB and this can be changed as well. And at work memory is a session parameter, so you can change at the session level, like set work mem for specific queries or specific connection. Log line, this is the problem I am having with this is log line prefix. Like it's still good, but I would like to add some more stuff in log line prefix. I would like to start with percentage %m instead of percentage %t. I would like to see in the microseconds and other stuff, but and it cannot be changed. So this is the disadvantage of it.
Is that compatible with PG Badger?
Yes. And PG Badger is very good, right? Like we had an issue with PG Fusion that you have to have specific log line prefix. Now in PG Badger, you can choose your own log line prefix. So when you pass the log line prefix to the PG Badger, it will use that. So this is not any issue. Like anybody is still using PG Fusion? Good. I think great. Log line, log minimum duration statement. It's disabled. Like this parameter sets like it's, if you are familiar with MySQL, it's a slow query. How long if query takes longer than X milliseconds or seconds, it will be logged in the log file. So by default, it's disabled. So I would definitely recommend you to enable this setting and set it as at least 1000 milliseconds or something like that, depending on your workload. Okay, so pros, it's easy to create parameter group and apply specific instance. Like you can create a parameter group for dev instance versus prod instance versus stage instance, my instance, PG instance, Dan instance, lot of instances. Allow dynamic calculation based on the DB. That's very good about, like most of the time people having frustration like what should be my effective cache size, what should be my shared buffers. We have a lot of tools now like for shared buffers. Like recently one of my colleagues wrote a blog about shared buffers, like that you can review your shared buffer, it is used or not used, and you can set depending on that. Cons, cannot change some of the parameters like log line prefix and other parameters. There are other parameters that you cannot change. Like so when you open up a window in your browser and you can see the parameters, if it is not, if you can't change, they are grayed line, like you can't change right there. So you don't have to find any document like which parameters can I change and not. You can just open your parameter group and which you can, I think, select in the top that which can be changed or not, and you can change depending on your environment. Okay, so next thing is automatic software patching. So 9.3.1.3 versions are available. You can control upgrade time, like you can, when you want to upgrade, sometimes they will give you time, but you have to wait till the, I think that's the problem I am having right now. Like 9.3.4 has been released, 9.3.5, 6 is now, I think 9.3.6 is released now, but it's not available on RDS yet. So that's the downside of it. So if you have a critical bug in your minor release, if you are relying on the Amazon, before you were relying on your DBAs, now you are relying on the Amazon. That's how the logical things works. So you have to wait until that version is available and then will be upgraded. So there was a bug in 9.3.3 about the replication bug, so that could be a problem. And that was the reason most of the people did not use for production. Doesn't support anything older than 9.3. Yeah, that's another problem. If you are running on 8.1, who is running on 8? Nobody. Great. You guys are very good. I'm working on one of the client running 8.2, 8.1. So, yeah. Yes. Okay, so that's good. That's shocking, but better. Delay in upgrade, that's good. Okay, so point in time restore, there is another feature that is like, as I said earlier, like you can take a, you can have a automatic snap, like you can do manual snapshot as well as automatic snapshot. So you can take a snapshot and that snapshot can be used for the restore purpose. For example, you are deploying the schema change and you want to take a backup, just hit the manual snapshot button, it will be snapshotted without any downtime, and once you apply that, you want to roll back, you can roll back to that point. So
Can you restore a snapshot to a new instance?
yes, yeah, that's what you have to do actually. There is no other way. You cannot, because this is volatile instance, so it will go away and the new instance will come in. You cannot restore in the same instance. So you have to bring up the another instance and get rid of the old one.
I can't have both up. I need to find some data over here, find it, see what it was, and then go back to my normal instance.
Yeah, you can have both, but you cannot override the one you have right now. Yes. So that's the another disadvantage, like in normal situation.
Snapshot it while it's live.
Yes. Yeah, it's a snapshot, yeah. So it will be like point in time, like it will take maybe a 5 seconds or so. It's like ZFS snapshot.
Takes the memory as well, the snapshot.
Hmm?
Takes the memory as well. The snapshot is file system snapshot only, or the memory?
Entire instance.
Entire instance.
Yes.
So the Postgres will not start in recovery mode or something?
No.
Oh.
It will be full-fledged instance.
And you don't
Because
have to stop the Postgres before taking the snapshot?
no. Yeah, it will be taken inside. Like Amazon has their own replication method that has been used for MySQL as well as Postgres. There is some file system level replication is used as well. There are 3 kinds, like for security purpose they are using synchronous replication first of all. Second one is they are using their own replication built in that is used for Oracle and MySQL. They are using the same file system level replication. And the third one they are using PG start stop backup too. So ultimately it's very, very secure.
So all these 3 layers are in once, or
In the ones.
wow.
Yeah. So when you set up a multi-age instance, the replication, whatever setup is synchronous by default. And the second is they are using their own, what is called, closed source replication methodology they are using for MySQL as well as for Oracle and using for Postgres. Because I had a question about that when 933 had a bug, right, application bug. So I had to raise the question with the Amazon people that, okay, this is a bug, like what should I do now? He said, like, we are not relying solely on this replication. We are relying on our own replication setup. So don't worry about that. And we had I gave a same talk at PGCon. The guy who wrote this RDS, he was there as well, and he confirmed that. So then I thought, okay, that's good.
You mentioned that they are taking snapshots of the VM itself, which would be like, I imagine that what's running inside RDS is a single virtual machine, and they are running their own replication system, which takes a complete snapshot of this VM at the disk level, memory level, and everything, just to have a full on that. And you also mentioned that they are using PG start backup and PG stop backup. A VM snapshot is an atomic operation. You wouldn't need it.
Yeah, like it wouldn't need it, but like for the security purpose, right? It's a extra high level of security. Like it doesn't take long time to run a PG stop and start backup. So that's the reason they are using synchronous replication. I raised the same question, like why are you using synchronous replication then, right? If you are using your own replication technology, but the replication method they are using is synchronous replication. So it's a high level of security they are using like for synchronous replication. Otherwise, you will be really upset if your replication fall behind. And they are using multi-AG synchronous replication, so that could be really problematic. Point in time, so we selected yeah, it was, and I just created an instance with a point in time recovery with the specific, you can specify the time when you, up to what time you want to restore that instance, and it will be restored as a new instance. So it can be done as a manual or automated way. The another good thing is DB events, like everything is going through with the Amazon is events based. Like for example, when you are creating instance, it's an event. So it will be creating a new instance when you are taking, so for automated snapshot or backup, it might be done overnight, but you can check it out in the DB events that when it was done, whether that's successful, not. So those kind of events are logged in detail. and you can notify based on those events as well. So for example, you have an event that you want to select all the events, those are listed like deletion, like if my instance is deleted, if my instance is failed, because this also provide automated failover, so it might have failed over overnight, so you want to get notified on those events. So I will highly recommend you to not specify these events to make sure that you are aware of what the things are going. Even though you are not managing, it's good idea to be aware of what are the things going on, so you can understand like when my backup was taken, or why when my database was upgraded, why it wasn't, why it was down, and yeah, and backup, and what else. So yeah, so DB event notification is really great for notifying the events. This is in middle slide, but I wanted to give you idea about what is, because I have talked about multi-AG number of times, so I just wanted to make sure that you understand the multi-AG term. So the region is like East Coast and West Coast are different regions from the Amazon terminology. And under East Coast, you have a multi-zones, like it could be in Virginia, in New Jersey, those are the availability zone in the East Coast. So it's US East is one region, US West is another region. So just keep in mind that this replication or this deployment is not multi-region deployment, it's multi-availability zone. So for example, the entire East Coast is down, your service is down. If both the availability zone like New Jersey and Virginia is down, and if your instance is running on those two, it will be down. So it's not multi-region replication. Otherwise, it takes long time to sync up that data. So it's really very, very important to understand that.
Are they planning on changing that, or are they planning on adding that, figuring out a way to do that at some point?
Actually, they are planning, like MySQL provides, MySQL RDS has a functionality to set up a replicator like the slave. Like in Postgres, you can set up a slave. Similar way, you can set up in MySQL. It's not possible in Postgres RDS yet, but I think they are working on it. So in the future, you can set up a replicated slave based off your multi-AG RDS instance. So it's showing that the availability zone is US East 1D and secondary zone is US East 1E. So both zones are in the same AG. Now it's a good fun part, provisioned IOPS. It's marketed as like you can get 1,000 to 30,000 IOPS, up to 30. You can get more than 30,000 IOPS for that Amazon or a Postgres RDS instance. So, and you need to select a range of storage to get, if you want to get 30,000 IOPS, you cannot get using selecting 100 gig of the database. So it's a ratio. So you have to select based on 3 to 1 to 10 to 1 ratio. So let me give you an example. So, so when you select 1,000 IOPS with 200 gigabyte of storage, a ratio of 5 to 1, so it is supported. And then you can go up to 2,000 IOPS for those 200 gigabytes of instance. That's 10 to 1. So you can go up to 10 to 1 ratio. You can't go beyond that. So you need to do that calculation, like how much IOPS you need. So depending on your IOPS need, you need to select the storage. So those kind of things you need to figure it out earlier. And you can change that in the future as well. Like you can increase the IOPS online too. So, and maximum.
Is this for a 4K or 8K size IO?
It's a 8K, I think. Yeah.
Right. From Postgres standpoint,
It's 8K.
but from a file system standpoint, it could be 4K. That's why I was asking.
Could.
The IOPS numbers
I'm not familiar with, like, I'm not aware of, like, I don't know much about those IOPS stuff, but I think you need to ask the guy, like the Amazon people. But I assume that most of the people are working, like IOPS is the number one thing. Like, there are two things that whenever you work with Amazon, one is IOPS and another is instance type, that you usually familiar with that. And it's sometimes you don't get that IOPS, like if you got very bad neighbor, and it could be a problem. But most of the time when you do provision IOPS, you should be able to get that provision IOPS. So that's the push button scaling. So I was telling, like, we had an instance running. So the earlier when we created an instance, it was 1000 IOPS per IOPS, and now I changed the storage to 200 gigabytes and provision IOPS to 2000 gigabytes in the same instance while it was running, and applied that change, and it's online change actually. So it takes a while, like it took about an hour to increase from 1000 IOPS to 2000 IOPS on very small instance from 100 gigabyte to 200 gigabyte. So like it's not instantaneous, like you can get in 1 second or 2 seconds or over, maybe it can take 1 hour or 2 hours. It's not predictable, it depending on your request and what are the resources available and how fast they can do it. So for my experiment, it took like about an hour to do that IOPS increase.
Were you aware of any performance impact?
During it could be, yes, and that's the reason they suggest you change those IOPS during the off-peak hours when there is a low traffic, but there will be a performance impact, yes, because it will be writing that data. Multi-AG was quick. Yeah, when I set up instance, the multi-availability zone was very quick because it was like a fresh instance and there was nothing to lose there. Okay, now isolation and security. So you can, I think you asked that question about, is it from access from public? No, you can add specific IP address to the groups, security groups, and and you can create a security group. It's like a PGHB account file that you are managing for existing databases, similar to that. Like this IP address can access my database. Or you can use specific EC2 security group. I think that might be easier because if other servers are already using that group, you can just add that EC2 security group for that RDS instance. And the good part is very limited default roles, right? There is only one new role, 2 roles like RDS super user and RDS admin, but you don't have access to those roles. But only RDS admin is the only one that's the super user, other than but you cannot connect as a RDS admin. It's an admin role. And SSL is turned on. So that's very good. Like when you have instance on the cloud, it's by default SSL is on. So which is really great security features to have. Okay, one more thing, like whenever you set up this instance, monitoring and metrics, right? You would like to monitor the instance. So it's some of the monitors are already there. Like you don't have to do anything, like CPU and connections monitoring and replication lag monitoring. Those kind of stuffs are already built in. Like they are not. It's not 100%. Like it's not include all the monitors you are doing right now on your database, but the basic monitoring is still there. You have an event handle, so notification is there, so you can get page about your instance if it is down or up down. So you don't have to like use any other tool for monitoring and alerting purposes. So which is really good. Like you don't have to do as a developer, if you are building a product and you don't want, you just care about your database and your instance right now, you can get notified to you instead of notifying everybody, and you don't have to build any infrastructure to do that. You don't have to worry about setting up a Ganglia or Janos or Circonus or any other monitoring system out there, like it's built in. You still,
But you can do that if you want, right?
sure, you can do that, yes. And I think it's good to have those if it's a really critical system. Yeah, I think you should do that. So because as per my understanding, it's always good idea to have a centralized monitoring than scattered monitoring. So if you are doing monitoring using Nagios, you want to just add a Nagios check for this instead of relying on that. So to keep it everything centralized for the architecture you are managing or infrastructure you are managing. So yeah, but you can do it, there's no limitation. You just need to add the IP address for access and user maybe. Other features. Automatic host replacement. So you don't have to worry about hardware. What if your hardware like database server goes down, like it will be automatically replaced because you are not responsible, you are already paying for that. It's a managed services. So if it is faulty hardware, they are responsible that it will be failed over. So it can feel like Amazon is really big factory of servers, right? So in your architecture, you might have 3 or 4 servers to fail over to, but they have like infinite number of servers to fail over to. Like they can fail over and fail over and fail until they hit that its server is working fine. So that's the advantage you are getting, like you have a lot of resources available with that's what they call it inexpensive. If you are hosting your server, it's like 2 or 3 servers. After that, you need to buy new server, but here you have pool of servers that you can't see, but they are available for you. Yeah, replication and automated failover and synchronous is used. Synchronous replication by default it is used, and they have their own replication. So I wasn't aware of that until I talked to the person at PGCon, but they have their own replication and synchronous replication. So you are pretty secure from replication perspective. Okay, so we are DBA, most of the people working with the Postgres, so we need to do the logs, monitoring, analyzing. So what can we do for RDS instance, right? We are not managing it. Amazon is managing it. So should we do it? Yes, we should definitely monitor the logs because those logs will have the slow queries and errors and everything is in there. So you should definitely monitor those logs. And there is a browser window, like you can open up and review the logs, but I would analyze the log using PG Badger. So there are some RDS command line toolkit that can be used. For example, there's RDS watch DB log file. You can watch the log file as it's happening, like the way you are doing tailing the log file on your server, you can watch that log file. Similar to that, you can download the log file, like most of the people are doing log analysis nightly, like download the Postgres logs from the production server, run the PG Badger, run a report, send out email, or make a web reporting server or something like that. You can still do that, and you should do that for RDS itself, because there is no other way you can find out if you have a slow query or not. Like, so it's a best. There are options available, like there is a DB instance identifier, log file name, so you can download the log file every night.
Is there a single log file per day?
You can, yes, you can set up, I think, you can set up hourly too. I think there is a size limit too, if I remember correctly. So it will be rotated after some specific size, log file size, I think. Okay, so we deal with the monitoring aspect of it. Now, like, what are the extensions, right? Anybody here is not aware of extension in Postgres? Cool. So, okay, so There are a lot of good, like 35 extensions are available. So like PostGIS, PLPG SQL, PG Crypto, DB Link. Though the ones those are important, I highlighted those. Like PG statements is available. PL Perl is available. Bitregist, T-Search 2, it's already built in. So HStore is available. So I think most of the extensions that I have worked so far are available. Like some custom build extensions that we wrote are not available. Like we have a partition manager extension, we have replication like Mimi or replication extension, but those are not available. So that's the limitation. If you have your own build, your own extension, those are not available. But I think that's the downside. But if you are not using those, like most of the Postgres extensions are available. PostGIS, most of the things I use is PostGIS, PG Crypto, HStore. I think no, it's not there. I think PLTCL is there. No, PL Python is not. I haven't used PL Python myself, but yeah, you might be missing that.
And they don't have table forms.
They do.
They do.
It's not in.
It's not extension, right? Yeah, it's built-in.
I read only what you markup.
Most of them are. I think PG Python. I think PL Python is the one I have to check. Like why it's not available, but that's a good one.
There's a lot of FTWs in our home.
Yeah, FTWs are not available there. Yeah, there's a lot of like the ones that those are important. Like the developers usually care about are there, but yeah. So that's the disadvantage. Like not everything is available, but some of very important ones are available. So if you are relying on the FTWs, those are not available. And you cannot install the extension too. So that's the another disadvantage of it. Like you cannot create extension if it is not available.
Mainly it's actually all the extensions by default comes with the Postgres SQL.
Yeah,
It's there.
most of those are there. Yeah. So the one mostly people are excited about, like there is Postgres FTW is available though. So if you are using Postgres FTW, it's available. But you can get that list using select start from PG underscore available underscore extensions. There is a view that you can query and check it out. And it's free, like you can set up a RDS instance while you are sitting here. A question?
Well, Craig Kirstens gave a talk, I don't know, a couple of years ago about, from Heroku, about what extensions are really being used. And he said, the gist of it was like the top 5 extensions are pretty much it, and everything else is available.
Right. That's true. Yeah,
So
I haven't.
It seems like people are either not using extensions at all, or they're using a ton of extensions.
Right.
There's nothing in between.
Correct. Like most of the extensions I have seen use are PostGIS and L-tree I have used. HStore I am using right now. DB Link is used a lot of the time. PG statements is the one of the highly used extension. So those are the extensions are available. PG buffer cache is available that you can use to review, or PG shared buffer. Is it used wisely or not? Okay, I ran like as a DBA, like we usually run PG bench on the once you set up instance, like to see how it does. M1.large, I ran it on M1.large, like provision IOPS 1000, number of clients 100, number of threads 1, duration 600 seconds. So I wanted to just compare single availability zone instance versus a multi-AG, like with the failover functionality. So as you can see, like there is not much difference. Like it's about 10% difference in performance when you are going with a single instance versus replicated instance. Even there is another disadvantage, like even though you have a multi-AG instance, you cannot connect to the another instance. You cannot use a read slave. You can't even see that instance. It's there, but you can't see it. So, but having the multi-AG instance, you get a bit like 5–10% lower performance, but I think the features you are getting with that is really important, like failover, automated failover, and highly available database server. I think it will be coming. Limitations, replica feature is missing. As I said earlier, like streaming replication is like we can't set up a replicated server, then we can use as a read slave. It's missing. There is limited migration upgrade, or like if you are running your EC2 instance and you want to migrate to RDS instance, there is only one way to do is pg dump and restore. So if you have a very large database, you can't do that. So that's a downside. I think still I'm not sure how the major version upgrade will be supported. Like 9.3 is right there. It's really easy to do minor release upgrade, but when 9.4 will be released, like how is going to be happening? Like, are we going to use PG upgrade or it will be dump restore? Still days to come. PG bouncer, if you are using PG bouncer, cannot be installed. Like you cannot do SSH access on the RDS instance. You can just connect to the database. So for one of the client we are using, they are running their PG bouncer on the application server, and I think that's a good strategy. You can run PG bouncer on your application server and those connects to the database. So that's not a downside. Cannot install custom extensions. Next thing is pricing. So I convert, like there are, if you are familiar with Amazon, there is on-demand instances and reserved for 3 years, I think. So you can reserve the instance. So if you are reserving instance for longer period, it's cheaper. So I just did a comparison between single AG versus multi-AG. It's about 10 to 20% cheaper if you are going, but there's no advantage. Like I usually prefer to go with multi-AG, even though I am spending like 10%, 20% higher because of the failover functionality and the replication built in, those kind of stuff. Price doesn't include bandwidth.
Sorry, just curious, did you compare the price against if you set up your own Postgres instance and one large 2000 IOPS? Just curious what the extra cost is by using their services as opposed to rolling your own.
No, I haven't done that, but I think that's a good question. I will be looking into that. But I think there's a lot of difference in that. It's much higher price range compared to the one you can set up. But the setup time will be higher. The references, there's very good guide like quick reference client CLI commands interface that you can use.
Sorry, it was just a question about the pricing. Is there a difference between the pricing when you use Postgres and RDS and other instances like MySQL or what's the other difference?
I haven't looked into that, but yeah, I haven't dwelled much into the pricing detail, but yeah, but when you are doing a review, but I think MySQL might be cheaper because that has been around for a longer time. But yeah, but who runs MySQL nowadays? So yeah, there are some things there are a lot of good documentation on the Amazon.com RDS. Further reading, my colleague Keith wrote a very good article on dbta.com about everything I talk about, very detailed article about how Postgres RDS works. I think we wrote very early when it was coming up. And next week is a Surge conference. We host a conference called Surge in Washington DC. If you are from that area, you should definitely check out next week. It's related to scalability and performance. I think that's all we have. Any question?
You sounded like you were using PG Partner. How did you get around not being able to use it?
I'm not using for that client.
Okay,
You can't use it, yeah. So there are limitations. So whenever you are selecting RDS, you need to make sure. So before you go for that client and implement that solution, you need to make sure that you understand the limitations and then go for it. Like one of the use case we are using like evaluating is Jenkins. Like one of the client is using like 5 servers and using 20 to 25 instances to test their Jenkins. So what it does is it create a cluster database and run some queries, like run the migration and just destroy it. So for those kind of purpose is really useful. Like I don't have to manage those 5 to 10 servers for those Jenkins servers, right? It's a really good use case. Another use case, like one of the client we migrated about 2 years from Oracle to Postgres, and we don't have Oracle running anymore. So we wanted to restore one of the table from Oracle. So we just brought up Oracle RDS. It was pretty cool. Like otherwise, like one of the DBA spent about 5 days to install Oracle, and she couldn't able to install it. So we just did the RDS, Oracle RDS, and restored the data. So it's really good use cases. So as long as you understand the limitations and the capability, then if you are trying to use that, I think that's a really great tool. And the pricing is another thing you should definitely check out whenever, if you are comparing, like for example for the Jenkins, I think it will be cheaper if I use the RDS compared to I am running 5 servers on the development instances, and I have to manage that and all kind of fun. So I don't have to worry about that. Any other question? I'll be around. Sure.
So to kind of piggyback off that, do you have any, are you familiar with anyone doing something like doing their development, maybe alpha testing, using the Amazon RDS, and then they really need the power, they don't really want to, I mean, they have some really big servers, like with string replication, DR, and I think of 3 servers. Do you have any situations where the development and testing are done here, and then you actually push
Yeah.
to your local site?
I think we are actually considering for that right now for one of the client. Like we are going to set up a dev instances for RDS, and then there will be an actual development database, like stage database servers. It will be compatible with the production, but you don't have to spend time and money to manage the dev. Like if you have 500 developers, like you don't want to manage all the developer instances. Like that could be many and different.
They're always VMs anyway,
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. So it's really great use case for developers.
What about things like HIPAA and PCI compliance? I don't know what Amazon's stance on any of that.
Don't go with RDS. Or even PCI compliance, don't go with RDS. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have.